There is one thing you must understand about my people. If you do not look like a Filipino and do not sound like a Filipino, then you are not considered a Filipino. It was in a small airport waiting area when I recognized my repugnance for this prejudice. The summer before my junior year, my parents and I planned a trip to California to visit my brother. I was fidgeting with my fingers, waiting for our flight, when my white-skinned mother tapped my shoulder and whispered into my ear, "Juju, that lady is giving me dirty looks. What should I do?" I sighed, expecting to see my mother's over-exaggeration, but instead, I found that an older Asian woman was in fact piercing us with her eyes. I told my mother to ignore the woman and return to fidgeting with my fingers. My dad then approached us with a Filipino man whose name escapes me. He began speaking to me in Tagalog and paused for my answer to the question he had asked me. After an awkward 3 seconds of silence, I mentioned that I was unable to speak and understand Tagalog. He looked at me with disgust and replied in a condescending tone, "It's a shame you don't know the language. You must be mestiza." Being talked down to boiled my blood. The Filipino man proceeded to introduce us to his wife, who happened to be the elder Asian woman who was staring at my mother and me. "Hello, I am very pleased to meet you." Her face scrunched up as she talked to us. "Kumusta na ho?" my mother responded. The wife raised her eyebrows with surprise and said that she was glad that white wives of Filipino husbands were trying to learn their culture. My mother retorted that she was also a Filipino herself. With lack of embarrassment, the wife continued to tell my mother that she loved the color of her skin and bragged about her ownership of her Louis Vuitton baggage. Being talked down to and seeing my mother not recognized as a Filipino upset me because I had always considered myself and my mother as Filipino since it is our ethnicity. I mean, who are these people to tell us who we are or are not? With this experience, I am ashamed to associate myself with the Filipino people. However, I still only claim myself to be a Filipino simply because it is in my blood.